Okay, I think we are going to start this stream. I am just going to check my audio in a second here just to make sure everything is working properly, so you might hear me drop off here in a second. All right, looks like that's working. So here's what we're going to try to do tonight, and I don't know if it's going to work. We are going to assemble my MiSTer, which is a really cool project, open source, that will allow us to use this little board here to run a lot of older devices like TurboGrafx or PC engines and Sega Genesis and some arcades and old computers and all that other stuff. And what I would suggest you do, if you're interested in this project, is to check out the video from Smoke Monster, linked down below in the video description. Good evening, everybody, by the way, so people are streaming in, if you will. I am trying to stream tonight because Comcast says they fixed my cable connection, which was why we were dropping off all the time. They say it's going to work now. So we're going to put this to the test and see how all this comes together. So we're going to begin the project here. Just kind of, let me show you my screen, talking about what we're going to do tonight. So the MiSTer, which is what we're assembling here, consists of actually a number of different devices. So what we have on the desk here are these components. We have the DE10 Nano, which is kind of the guts of this with the FPGA chip on board. And then this project has generated other hardware that goes along with it. So what we have in addition to the MiSTer itself, which is this board here, we have a little DRAM board that we're going to attach. And then we also have this I/O board that I also purchased. And Smoke Monster, hello everybody. Smoke Monster got me, he didn't get this for me, but he showed me what to get. So he's been immensely helpful. And I think what I'm going to do is after I assemble this and my Comcast connection works, maybe we will do something with Smoke Monster and have him kind of talk about what we're going to do with it. And apparently you need a USB hub also, so I've got this Amazon one that I got a while back. So we are going to try out all this stuff. So I want to, first of all, say hello to some folks who are saying hello in the chat. So Eric Brunhammer is in a cabin in Virginia on vacation, so hopefully he's enjoying that. I just got back from a mini vacation to Florida, and my family is still down there. They're getting back tomorrow. In fact, Rigo, I was in West Palm Beach, Florida, when I was down there the other day, so that was fun. Recipe Bob is here. We got Damon and Big Tone and Stuart Video and Ryan D and Morgan and Tom Finney. All right. So let's go over to the MiSTer page. Hello there, Andrew and Tim, and I will acknowledge some more folks in a few minutes. Let me show you our screen here. So here's what we have: the SD-RAM board, the I/O board, and a USB hub board, which I don't have. But let's go over to the starting process here. How to start, okay, setup guide. All right, so one of the things that Smoke Monster found, by the way, is that if you get just the DE10 Nano board, that is often enough to get started. You can do a lot with this, but because we have the DRAM and the I/O, we can do a little bit more with this. All right, so let us begin this process here. So for the SD card setup, we need Windows 10. Oh, okay, I gotta get my little other device out here. An SD card reader, 2 gigs of RAM on the storage on the SD card, Nano board, 5-volt power supply. Okay, we got all that. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is prepare the SD card, and I need to get my Windows device out for that. So lucky for everyone, I have it right here, my Surface Go, but my card reader for the Surface Go is on the other side of the room. So I'm going to grab that real quick and plug that in. All right, so let's just pop this out here. I have an adapter for everything, and it's all on the floor. It's a mess in here. I've got to really clean this place up. Okay, so we're going to start with that first step, and let's zoom the camera. I'll leave the camera zoomed in because this is just an intermediary process. But the cool thing is that I can probably cast my screen from this little Surface Go via NDI, so I might do that. So while this is booting up, I will say hello to some folks. Got lots of people coming in here. Morgan is here from England, 2 a.m. It is a late night there. I'm not sure how long this project is going to take, so this might be a long night for me too. And at some point I might have to do an intermission to take my dog out if I hear her moving around upstairs. Eric trying to get his 2-year-old to sleep. Good luck with that. Flying Toasters is here, and Manta Squatus and Morgan and Frank Mula. And Anthony is in, says, thanks for doing this online. Cool. Yes, so make a note of the link, because typically I don't push these out to subscribers because it kind of junks up the feed. So make a note of the URL, and then I'll leave it unlisted so you can find it tomorrow. I also have a live stream archive, Lon.TV/livestreams, where all these end up as well. And part of why I am doing this tonight is because Comcast claims they fixed my upstream. They didn't make it faster, but they said they fixed it. And the way they fixed it was the guy that came just took out the thing that the last guy put in. So see if that fixes anything. Don is acknowledging my stuff on the back shelf. You know, it's funny, the stuff on the back shelf has been a source of debate amongst the viewership. And the concern that some have raised is that it's off-putting because we're talking about all this new technology with this old stuff behind me. And I think it might be the way I'm lighting everything. So one thing I have in mind is maybe to change the lighting. But part of the problem that I'm struggling with is that I think part of the charm of this channel is that it looks different than other channels, and I don't necessarily want to look like others, because I think everyone should be unique. So I don't know if that's risky to kind of do that or not. So I will kind of figure it out. You guys can tell me, or gals, what you think. Hello, Khalid. Nice of you to be here tonight. All right, so I got to go find this little app that will install the stuff on the MiSTer. So while we're getting that app ready, why don't we unbag the guts of this thing and see what is inside. So let's take it out of the bag here. And this is what it looks like. This is the first component of it. And I think what we're going to have to do is take off this plexiglass thing because one of these modules goes on top of this whole contraption here. So that's the front, and then the back. It's almost kind of like a big Raspberry Pi, but it has what's called an FPGA chip. That's what this thing is here in the middle. And what FPGA chips can do is simulate other things. And this is kind of the future of emulation, in my opinion. And look at this, it came with a card already in there. How about that? So that's going to save us some stuff. So let me go over to my Windows device here. And we're going to download the little utility that they want me to download. So let me get this little screen up here via NDI. So let's go to Scan Converter. And when I load that up, we're going to dial up input 7 now so you can see what I'm doing. So for some reason, my mouse pointer just stopped working, so I've got to use the screen here. I love the Surface Go, by the way. I think this thing is just awesome. I use the crap out of this thing. It's great. All right, so we're going to go over to getting started here on the setup guide. And what we're going to do is just download that utility that they're talking about. So we're going to download the SD card installer from here. And we're going to let that download. I think it's downloading. There it goes. I'll take some questions while things are going. So Ryan, I am streaming right now at 2 megabits per second to be safe. So that's why you're probably seeing some artifacting going on. I'm going to ramp up the quality as time goes on because one of the issues we've had here is my stream quality has been very inconsistent. And I don't want to speak too soon, but so far it's been working okay. But usually it starts like dropping off, 20, 30 minutes in, because I have some problems with Comcast. All right, so let's put this little SD card in here. So we're going to stay to the 2 megabits for now, but maybe we'll try to boost it later. And I just reviewed this device called the, what was it called? It's from Teradek, the VidiU Go. And, oops, thank you. I'm going to have this screen here. And that actually lets me use my cell phone as a backup. And that's a kind of a neat thing. So I might do more with that. Okay, so we need to get the latest edition of the software for this thing. So we're going to look for, I'm guessing 206 was released 18 days ago. That one looks pretty good to me, so we're going to click on that, and we'll download that. So download. All right, so that's coming in. And then we're going to go back here, and then I got to get the utility. So where is the utility? Let's go back a notch here. Oh, window, okay, installer. Oh, I see, so it's all in one thing. So I've got to open up that RAR file. Let's go do that real quick. So let's take a look at the file for that. So downloads. And now I got to get something to unrar this. Oh, 7-zip can do it. Okay, so we'll extract to here. All right, so we'll get that going. All right, so everybody says the stream is working good for them right now. Timothy wants to know what I think about Xbox services coming to the Nintendo Switch. I think that's a great thing. I think Microsoft is very smart, actually, about how they do this stuff. All right, so we've got that utility downloaded, and I'm going to switch back over to my Mac screen here. So I inserted the SD card, I extracted the file, and now we're going to run the utility. So let's do that, and I'll switch back to our Windows machine here. Now what's neat about the Windows machine right now is that this is being broadcast to my TriCaster via NDI, so I have it streaming into you all without having to plug it into anything, which is awesome. All right, so do you want to allow this app to make? Yes. Okay, so we're going to load up that utility, and there it is. And let's see. Oh, looks like it just froze up. So the NDI is not working so great. Sorry, everybody. I will tell you what's happening here as I am moving around with it. It looks like it just went dark on me. Part of the problem is I'm on Wi-Fi. Usually it works better with Ethernet. So that is why it is doing what it's doing. So I'm going to just quit that for now. Okay, so what I'm doing here is basically what you will see here on my Mac. So let's switch back to camera 3 so you can see what that looks like. So I'm running this utility right now. All right, so I'm going to create a, so it says image. Okay, so I'm guessing that it has the image already. So, okay, so it needs to say uboot plus MiSTer in the image field. Okay, so extract, start the MiSTer utility, card utility. So mine doesn't say it. Mine says boot plus files. So that is not correct. So I think we need to do something else here. All right, so I've got that on there. Make sure it says uboot plus Linux plus MiSTer in the image field. Newer versions, MiSTer card utility. Okay, so we got this correct. Okay, select the SD card in the drive field. If you have inserted the SD card after installer, okay, so full install. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on full install. And that's going to get this card going here. And we're just going to erase that card. Okay, so we're going to let that run for a minute. And it'll take a minute, I'm assuming, to do all this. Yeah, it's processing right now. All right, so let that process, and I will take some more questions here. Okay, it looks like my stream health is orange now, so I don't know if that means we're in danger of losing the signal again. We'll see what happens. And we'll keep going here. And somebody's saying the audio is too low. I am not sure. The last time I was streaming on the Extras channel, it was too loud, so I don't think I turned anything down, but maybe I did. I don't know. I don't think I did. Let's take a look at my mixer. I don't think so. You all tell me. If I need to boost something, I can try to do that. Okay. Yeah, I might have just been talking low. All right, so the thing here is imaging right now. All right, so it is successful. So let's go back to the computer screen here and see what our next steps are. Okay, so I did that. It said full install was successful. The installer will now open multiple windows, which will ask you to format the drive. Don't format the drive. Okay, I did that. Did not do that. The SD card file explorer. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Okay, so get a core. Oh, we have to get cores. That's right. Okay, so now we need to get some cores for this. So I am going to actually open up another window here and just look for MiSTer project again. And we'll get a couple of cores. Now what this is, everybody, is a emulation. It's hard to say exactly, describe exactly what it is, because it is FPGA, which you could say is emulation, although people really want to say that it's actually simulation. So we've got a lot of different things we can play around with on here. So I think what I'm going to do is grab a couple of things here. So maybe we'll grab Moon Patrol. I always liked Moon Patrol. And this is a core. So this is not a, we have to get, I have the ROM on a different drive somewhere on the thing here. So, all right, let's see. I'm just looking through all this here. All right, ROM is not included. Okay, find the zip file somewhere. Okay, so maybe we'll just, oops. The wrong button there. I'm going to try to find a couple of simple ones to start with. So maybe what we will do here is do the Genesis Mega Drive. I was really curious. That's kind of one of the unique things that this thing can do. And I'm assuming we got to download the whole thing. Let's see, where's the core? All right, this is a port installing. Copy the RBF. Okay, so all we need is the RBF file to root of SD card. All right, so we need to grab that. So what I'm going to do actually is take the card out of the Windows machine and put it in my, okay, we can now remove that. All right. So I'm going to take this card and I'm going to put it in my Mac here and then copy some of this stuff over. So we're going to do that real quick and we'll jump back to the Mac and take a look here. I'm just going to check on the stream real quick and see how we're doing. The stream health looks like we're good. Yeah, Ryan D says it's kind of like hardware emulation. Chris says it's closest to the analog. It's actually exactly like the analog because it is doing FPGA simulation here. All right, so let's go back to the Genesis thing. We got to find the RBF. Okay, so let's look for the RBF file. All right, well that doesn't help us, does it? Okay, so we got to see where it lives here. Releases. Oh, okay, I see. We're going to the release folder. There we go. RBF, there's probably one from 6 days ago, so we'll grab that one. And we'll just download that. And what I'm going to do now is just see what is on my SD card here. Okay. Oh, it's got MT32 ROM data, so that's interesting. So it looks like they're doing, here, I'll switch back to this for you real quick. It looks like it must be some kind of DOS thing because the MT32 is the Roland sound chip or sound device. I actually had one. I had a Roland CM32L for playing my DOS games. All right, so let me go back to the setup guide here. So we actually want to run a core like this, so therefore we need to copy the RBF file to the root of the SD card. Okay, so we're going to copy the file we just downloaded over to the root here. And then we also have to create a Genesis folder. So I'll do that. And then what I think I'll do is get a couple of ROMs just to throw in there. I'm going to try that, the TurboGrafx 16, and then why don't you all pick a computer? We'll see, we'll see which ones they want to do. Yeah, so there's no way this thing's going to do the PS3. It can't even do the PS1. So we're talking about like 16-bit here. But the difference is that we're actually going to be able to do things that the prior MiSTer project couldn't and things that aren't yet on other FPGA products that Analog is making. So for example, the TurboGrafx 16 or the PC Engine, if you're from other places besides the US, is simulated here. And that's one I want to try because it actually works with the SuperGrafx, which was kind of their upgraded system. So that is what I want to take a look at here. All right, so we got Genesis on there, and I'm going to just grab, let's grab one ROM file for that. we'll do something fun. Actually, I have a legit ROM that I purchased from Steam. Because if you all remember, when we did a video a few months ago, if you buy that Genesis pack, those Genesis 16-bit games or the Mega Drive games on Steam, you actually get the ROM file, which is basically unprotected. It's kind of hidden in your directory, but they're actually selling the ROM as part of this package, which I thought was awesome. So I'm just going to grab a Genesis game to throw in there to start with. It doesn't do the 32X either, by the way, or the Sega CD. But what will do that is the analog NT that we'll be playing with shortly when it comes in. I'm really excited for that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick one of my favorite Genesis games, which was Afterburner 2. We're going to throw that one in there. Okay, so we got that. The next thing I want to do is go over to TurboGrafx 16, because that's the one I was really eager to play with. So let's go back to the MiSTer project here. Let's go back a notch. Hang on. All right, and we'll pick the, so I think they call it the, oh, it does SNES too. Ooh, ColecoVision. I love my ColecoVision. All right, we'll go to releases here on the TurboGrafx one. This one's 5 days ago. What's great about this project also is that it is in active development. So it's happening. People are doing stuff. It's just awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so this is definitely not going to do N64 or anything like that. It's really more for stuff from my childhood, I guess. And I think that's going to come. Once these FPGA, once more work happens on this, I think we're going to see a lot more with it. And the analog HD, I'm really excited for, because I remember I did a live stream a few months ago. We did the Sega CD, which I bought on eBay. That will work with the analog SG. So that FPGA console will actually connect to the old hardware, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to playing around with that. All right, so let me go back here. I just want to get the instructions for the TurboGrafx thing and see what we have to do with this. So let's read that. Let's go back to the TurboGrafx. Sorry, everybody, to be jumping around so much. I am starting from scratch here, so I'm kind of learning as I go. So there's a SuperGrafx mode, supports saves, uses BD-RAM data, DDR3, SDRAM for the cartridge ROM, support for Street Fighter and Populous mappers. Okay, so I copied the RBF file. Copy ROMs to the TGF. Okay, so we got to create a file called TG. Let's make a new folder. We're going to call this TGFX16. And you may rename the ROM of your favorite game to boot ROM. It'll automatically be loaded upon core loading. Okay, SGS file extension for SuperGrafx games. Okay, so I'm going to jump back here. I'm just going to find my SuperGrafx games. The Timex Sinclair, yeah. Is that on the list? Let's go back to the, let's see, arcade computer cores. Oh yeah, it's got the ZX Spectrum, the Sinclair. Yeah, I bet you the QL, I wonder if that's the one, because I have the Timex Sinclair 1000, which is right behind me there. I haven't turned that thing on. I think I talked about it the other day on one of my wrap-up shows. I haven't turned that on in like 30 years, but I think it's still working, so it might be fun to play with. Let's see. Let me go back to this other thing. I got to get the SuperGrafx stuff over there. So it's gonna be fun, I think. This is I like live streaming, especially on like a Saturday night when I don't have anything going on. Wife and kids are not here at the moment, so I have time. And then tomorrow they come home, so I won't have time again. So let me see if I have that ROM somewhere. Oops. I know I have some SuperGrafx games somewhere on here, so let me just look and see what one of those games were. There was one game I remember seeing. So when I was a kid, believe it or not, I had a cable access show, and it was about a show, I didn't know what it was going to be about, but it ended up becoming about video games at the time. And there's actually a video in my, on my channel of a clip from that. I actually interviewed somebody right when the Sega Genesis was coming out, right before it came out. I think it was actually just after it came out. And so what happened was I was doing the show about video games, and I was getting all my information from this video game magazine. and the magazine had an advertiser called the Ultimate Game Club, and it turns out they were in the next town over from me, which was like mind-blowing. Like, how could this big advertiser, they would buy like a 2-page spread in Game Players magazine. I was like, how is it possible that they are in my town? But they were. So I called them up, and they used to let me come over and record stuff, and they would get all this import stuff from Japan, and they had a SuperGrafx at the store, which is kind of like an enhanced version of the original PC engine. And it turns out it just had additional graphics chips on it, I guess. This is what it looked like. It looked mean. Look at that thing. And so this is simulated in this on this MiSTer project. So I thought that thing was just awesome. And the graphics looked amazing because they added some additional scrolling layers versus the other things. So it was pretty neat how that came together. So let's go and look at, shoot, okay, what is it? I'm in the wrong screen again. All right, so let me go and find one of those games. I was actually looking for the list of SuperGrafx games here. There was only like 3 games that ever came out for it. So if you were in Japan and bought that thing, you must have been really disappointed. It played all the old stuff, so it wasn't completely useless, but it was something that didn't quite work out. There was one game that I looked at. In fact, I have footage of that game on a VHS tape. No, the Schools and Ghosts. Let me find the right one here. I just want to get the one that I saw in the, it was a Madu Granzort. Maybe that's what it was. I think that's what it was called. So let me grab that one real quick here. I know I've got it somewhere, so we'll take a look and see if I can find it. All right. So Chris is asking if the Sega channel was around where I was, and it was not. And it killed me that it wasn't. We got nothing here. We had, like, it's just as bad as it is now, I guess. Like, we have lousy internet here, and back then we had none of the other stuff. I was playing a YouTube video here to see if, yes, this is what it was called. So it was Maidu O Granzort. That's how they pronounce it. So maybe that's the game we'll grab. I don't know if this has game controller support. I would imagine it does. All right, so we're going to go look for that on my games that I've got. I think I know I've got the ROM somewhere. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, I think I maybe have a different folder. Yes, no. Huh, where did I know I have that thing. Where did I put it? I'll have to go find it again. All right, so let's go and grab that ROM real quick and throw it in there. Okay, so I'll take some more questions while I'm poking around here. So Dave for Shmups was talking about gaming on his dad's Mac 512. And we did that Mac Plus thing on the channel recently, right around Christmas time. And what a nightmare that turned out to be. Whenever I do these retro reviews, stuff like stops working. And it killed me because when I got it, it worked fine. Like, I opened it up before I did the video, everything was working great, and then it just, pooped the bed on me. So that was it. All right, so I got the ROM, and I just want to go back to the instructions real quick and make sure I get this done properly. So let's look at this real quick, and let's see. So we're looking at SGX. Okay, so let's copy that one over. And then we'll get going here. Okay, so we got that going. Now, the other thing I want to do is get like all the hardware set up here properly. So I'm going to jump back to the MiSTer project site and take a look at the hardware stuff. So, how to start setup guide, input devices. Wow, we got FTP and Samba and Wi-Fi. Wow, this thing does a lot. All right, so we prepared the SD card. So I guess we could fire it up and just see what happens, although I think I want to get my other boards attached. So let's go and see if we can find some of those other things. Desktop Linux discussion. Yeah, so this actually boots up this boots up to Linux. So this chip, this FPGA chip, has an ARM processor on it as well. So it's got both an FPGA and a traditional ARM processor. The ARM processor kind of runs the operating system, and then that's how you load in all these things. Now, what I want to do real quick here is just take off that plexiglass shield and attach the rest of the components before we boot everything up. So let me get my screwdriver out here and just unscrew these screws in a slightly larger head here. Well, it is fun hanging out with everybody tonight. You all can keep me company. All right, that should fit. And we'll just unscrew the plexiglass here, and what we'll do is put the I/O board down on top. And I have a little heat sink for that chip, because apparently that chip gets really hot. And it won't like overheat, but I guess you have performance issues, kind of like on those Intel chips, that if you have, if it gets too hot, it slows down, or you have some other glitchy things that happen. So we're going to put that heat sink on. And Smoke Monster, again, was really helpful. He's streaming. I feel bad because he started a stream right when I started this one, so I hope anyone who's watching him stays on his channel, because he's great. Like I said, we're going to get him on one day and maybe talk about this project and get people excited about it. He's been a real contributor to the whole retro scene, Smoke Monster, and he's somebody you should all definitely follow, because if you're into this kind of stuff, he is a great guy. Okay, so we have everything taken out here. Now I need to make sure I put this on the right way. So I'm assuming that it goes in like this, maybe? I think I'm going to read the instructions just to be safe. This looks to be about right to me. And I am going to just check the picture to make sure that that is the case. And Jason's interested in the arcade cores and the 8-bit computer, so maybe we'll grab like another 8-bit computer. I didn't have a Commodore 64 back in the day, but maybe we can play around with that a little bit. Let's go back to the main MiSTer page here. Problem with GitHub is you start drilling down and you get lost, so I just kind of go back to the thing here. Okay, so it looks like that is correct. Yes, because I have, so they have an extra board that I don't have. So I have the HDMI is down there, and then above it is the VGA connector. Okay, so I think we're good here. So I'm going to screw this down. Then I also have to attach the RAM board, which goes on the other side there. So this is the, let me pull this up for you here. This is the RAM board that will also snap in there. So we're going to take a look at that. Ron G, thank you very much for your super chat. I greatly appreciate it. We'll give you a shout out on the weekly wrap-up as well. All right, so let's get the RAM module attached here. And the hope is that the magic smoke doesn't come out of the MiSTer when we get everything going. So let's do this thing real quick and get it out of the bag. And this is the, all right, so now what we've put on here is the I/O board, and then we're also going to attach the RAM now. And I need to be very careful with this because there's no guide on this as to which way is the right way to go. So I don't know where pin 1 is on this. So what I'm going to do to be safe is I'm going to go back and reference the picture that is on here so that we can make sure we get it in the right way. So it looks like the RAM chip here needs to face away. Oh, so I think my thing is backwards because, let's see, because they have the RAM chip actually, oh, I see that, yeah, okay, it goes in, oh, here's where it goes. Okay, so let's switch back, and it goes in like so. So we're going to push that down. There we go. That's a really tight fit there. Oh, I see there's another thing that connects there as well. Okay. So that looks good. All right, so we have it all assembled. And you know what I just realized? I forgot to put the heatsink on. So let's reverse the process here. And we'll come back and put that heatsink on and make sure everything is all cooled off. There's a fan on this as well, but I think that fan might be for a different component. So let's just pop this off real quick. Okay, yeah, so that's in the right way now. Okay, so now we're going to grab the heatsink. We're going to put that on. Rich says it has a nice Bob Ross vibe right now. Yes. We've got the pretty little heatsink here. This is before I start swearing when things explode, right? So, all right, and let's just attach that to the SoC here. It's important to get it centered properly too, because you don't want any metal touching things that shouldn't touch anywhere else. So we're just going to put that on right. Oops, I hope you can see that like that. There we go. That's seated on there. That looks good. Okay. All right. Well, I'll beep out the swearing, of course. I don't want to get demonetized. And you all better behave yourselves too, because apparently if you say the wrong thing, they'll demonetize my video for what you guys say. That's been a very concerning development on YouTube. Okay. So we got that in. Now, so I've been meaning to do this for a long time. I've been sitting on this for months, and I just haven't had time just to get to it. But now I do, so I'm really eager to just get this going here. Oops. So let's put these screws back in, and then we will fire this thing up for the first time and see what happens. And I should probably get some controllers out, because apparently there are some input options too. So I have one of my Logitech keyboards I'll attach to it. So it looks like I can get 2 of these screws down here, which is what we'll do, because the rest of this board kind of hangs out over the other thing. This thing has Ethernet on it too, which I guess you can use to FTP stuff in. So I think what they say you can do with it is after you get it all configured, you can actually FTP and just drag stuff over the network to it, versus having to pop the card out every time. So that'd be more helpful. All right. So it's all assembled. So I'm going to pop out the card from the Mac, and we're going to put the SD card into the SD card slot here at the bottom. And we're just going to stick that in there. Came with an 8 gig card, which was very nice. All right, so I think this might be the moment of truth here. So let's go back to the setup page here. And actually, before we do that, let's take a look at input devices. Game controllers, joysticks, and gamepads. Known to have problems, gamepads. All right, so we're not going to use our Xbox One stuff there. So what should you use if you can't use that? I think what we'll do is use my one of my 8BitDo controllers. So I may need to go grab one. Oh, they can use the 8BitDo receiver. That might be something we could try in a little bit. All right. Okay, so I need to go find one of my game controllers. So bear with me, everybody. I will be right back and find that. Lucky for you all, I've got piles of game controllers here. They're never in the same place, though. They always disappear on me. All right, so we got this one. And that uses a micro USB. All right. Now, the other thing I think I have to do is connect up a USB hub. All right, so let's go back to the setup stuff. Let's see, getting started. Scroll down here. Okay, so the next thing, fire it up. Make sure the SD-RAM board is attached to the GPIO header, which we did. Remove the SD card from your PC and put it in the Nano board. Connect the power supply. This will turn on the D10 Nano board. Okay, so I think, though, there was some talk about a USB hub somewhere. So let's look for that real quick. All right. Make sure... Connect the board via HDMI to a monitor and via USB to a keyboard. Okay, so I have to get a USB OT on-the-go adapter, which I do have. I have everything here. So in my magic box here, I have I should have. So the other problem is I don't always put things back where they belong, so they end up going missing. And this might be one of those instances when I did that. Let's see. Ah, there we go. This one will work. Ah, look at this. In the bag, a USB OTG adapter. How about that? So let's grab that real quick. And let's see who we've got tuning in. Sorry, it's like paint drying, everybody. I always like to be thorough to make sure I don't screw up anything here. So we're just going to pull off my little thing there, get this thing off of that. So we're going to use this. Actually, what I think I might do is get the USB hub attached. I'm not sure what the I/O board's supposed to do. I think it adds an additional, I don't know what this thing does, to be honest. So we're just going to hook up my hub, and I'm going to connect the keyboard and the game controller to that. So let's do that real quick, and then we will boot it up. Peel this stuff off of here. Now the only issue I have is the monitor that's on the desk doesn't like to, it's very temperamental. Oh no, it's one of those connectors. Shoot. All right. This could be a deal breaker here, unless it comes with one of those cables in the box. And it does, but all right, so it looks like I might be kind of stuck here because, oh, it's got one in the back. Is that the power? That's not, oh, USB on the go. Okay, never mind, we're good. Okay, so we're going to connect up USB on the go right here. And there should also be a round power plug somewhere on this on the front. Okay, so we got that. This is the power adapter. And what I think I'm going to do is route this through my little NDI box so that I can get a good image to you, because my monitor here stretches stuff, so it doesn't always work right. So I'm going to get the power ready. I'm going to plug in the USB hub as well. And then we're going to get my keyboard out. Oh, I'm getting zapped from this thing. Let's see, get that going there. I got my USB keyboard ready to go. And what we're going to do is plug the USB keyboard into this USB 3.0 hub, which of course is backwards compatible to 2.0. And then we're also, where did that cable go? Going to connect that hub up to the MiSTer. And get our joystick plugged in over here. But where did the USB cable go from my USB hub? So this is what happens here, is that I have things that are in front of me, and then they just disappear into the ether. And then I go scrambling around looking for them again. Is this it? This is it. Okay. So we're going to connect this up here. This is exciting, folks. I am excited. This is months in the making here. All right. Let's plug this in here. Okay, and then we need to get HDMI going, so we're going to do that. And what I'm going to use for that is two cables. One is going to go to the monitor, so we're going to flip on my NDI thing here. But why did my NDI Ethernet disappear? So I know why I did that, because we were using two Ethernet connections the other day. So let's grab this cable, and we'll plug that in. It looks like the stream has been going pretty well here, folks. I don't want to speak too soon, of course, but it does look like it's been stable. So I'm going to plug that one in there. So when I make a video, everybody, it takes a long time to make them, as you can probably surmise from this process, because there's a lot of things that you got to plug in and get working and all this good stuff. So there is lots to do. And I'm going to now zoom the camera out so you can get a better view of what I'm looking at. And then we're going to run, if it reaches, hopefully it does, the HDMI cable to the MiSTer. Now I want to, though, connect power to the MiSTer first. And the reason is that sometimes these HDMI cables deliver power, and you don't necessarily want that to happen. Okay, so here we go. The power is going in. Okay, it's working. Now let's get the HDMI hooked up. And let's see if we are... Oh, look at this. It's like working on the first shot. Isn't that cool? It's got like a little snow effect. Now let's see if my keyboard works. Holy mackerel. This is unusual for things to just work like this. And check it out. I can share this with you through the magic of NDI. So let's do this TurboGrafx thing here and see what happens. All right, so now it's going to boot. I doubt this is going to work on the first shot, but you never know. Let's see. Blank screen. All right, so perhaps we didn't do something correct there. So let me go and look at the instructions. And we'll go back and see what the instructions are here. All right, once you've installed, so let's go back over to the Mac. And what we're going to do is go to that TurboGrafx 16 guide. I'm actually curious what there should be like a key command to like get you out of this, but I think what I'm going to do here is just reboot the MiSTer. And let's go to TurboGrafx 16. PC Engine. All right, so I wonder if the ROM that I have is bad. Actually, I probably should ask for it. Let's just try the Genesis here and see if that works better. So let's do Genesis real quick. And if this doesn't work, then I probably did something wrong. So let's see what happens here. And it could just be that maybe it's trying to program the FPGA, and that takes a little bit of time. So let it do its thing. And while we wait, I will take some more questions here. All right, so Randy wants to know if I purchased this as a kit. Actually, I did not, because they don't really sell it as a kit. So the thing basically comes with, let me pull over my other camera here. This is like the main component, and you can get this as a single unit, of course. This is the DE10 Nano. I think I paid like 180 bucks for it, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. If you look on Amazon, you should be able to find one. And then the community makes the other stuff. So the RAM board, let me go over here. So the RAM chip here, that is a community thing, as is the input-output board, the I/O board that's on top. And that provides better cooling, from what I understand. All right, I'm going to kill this real quick, and I'm going to go back to the setup screen here. F12, got it. So helpful that I have people in here that know what they're doing more than I do, because I certainly don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. F12 is what we need to hit. Alvajoy wants to know when I started my channel. I started my channel well, I had the channel since 2006, but I started doing this in like 2012. Oh, look at that. So it was working the whole time. Thank you, Cruel Tot, for telling me which key to push. All right, so let's load a SuperGrafx. Look at that. It works. That's amazing. Okay, and we're going to map our buttons here. So I'm going to go right, left, down, up, button 1, button 2. Select, run. Button 3. There's a button 3. 4, 5, 6. Oh, this is awesome. All right, so let's go back out of here. And let me see if I can get audio going for you folks at home. There we go. Oh, I think I'm getting... And what I need to do... Oops, sorry, I'm echoing. I can't hear it because I don't have audio going out through this display. But this looks pretty cool. And let me switch over to camera 5 here so you can see what it looks like. It's a little bit dark, so I'm guessing I could probably adjust the video output to make it look better. And it's funny, when I saw this game at that store, in case anyone tuned in late here, I was, first of all, this thing just started working. Like, there was no drama in getting it to work. I was expecting like there would be like, you know, smoke and fire and horrible things, but it just came right up. Everything's just working. So this is awesome. It feels pretty responsive. This display is not the best when it comes to latency, so when I do some more testing with it, I'll look at you know, what with my usual method, you know, what the testing is. It actually looks better on your feed than it does on my monitor here, so it's a little bit dark on my monitor, but it seems like it's working pretty nicely here. All right, so that is, that's the Turbo. I can't believe how easy this is. This was like really a very easy process to get this up and running. I should have done this earlier. And what a great night. My stream is working and this is working. Hope you're all enjoying this. And that's right, everybody. This is FPGA, man. We're simulating the real deal here. Ugh, this game's not very forgiving. All right, so that was the TurboGrafx 16. Which is actually, in this instance, we were using we're using the SuperGrafx component of this core, and it looks like it's pretty solid. So that's awesome. So we're going to switch cores now. We're going to go to the Genesis. Genesis does an FPGA. And remember that the, so we're going to go region, we're going to select the US for the region. Remember that the analog SG is coming out soon, which will also be FPGA. And let's load up Afterburner 2 here. This is all I did was push start on the controller, and it started asking me for it asked me for stuff. That's great. Cool. X, Y. All right. So let's back out of here. Let's hear that awesome Afterburner music here real quick. All right. So if you're going to play a Sega Genesis game, like Afterburner is it. I loved this game when I got it. All right, which one was Missiles? There we are. Now the arcade version, of course, is a lot better, but for a home version, this one was pretty darn good. So this looks pretty good. So yeah, so we've been able to replicate 1989 here, right? We got the Sega Genesis running here. We got the TurboGrafx running there a second ago. So the next thing I want to try with this is, this is great. See, it's a little, I'm seeing some video weirdness here. So you see that little flickering going on. So there's probably some things in the core that are still being worked on, but it looks pretty good to me beyond that. And what's amazing about what you're seeing here is, I'll switch over to your version. What you're seeing here is the Sega Genesis not being emulated, it's actually being simulated. So on that FPGA chip, they have replicated the entire Genesis. And if I hit F12 right now, and, oops, sorry, oh shoot, hit the wrong button. If I hit F12 right now and switch, so let's say we want to do something different here. Let's go over to the exit, and we'll select Core, and we'll go to TurboGrafx 16. What we did here was we actually just changed it to a TurboGrafx 16, and it loaded in a whole different processor. And then I can go here and load up our SuperGrafx game again. And that's awesome, because what's happening is that it's able to reprogram that hardware on the fly to make it something else. And that's what's great about FPGA chips, is that they are very parallel and they're very programmable. So you can, if you know what you're doing, I certainly don't, but if you know what you're doing, you could actually, just build something else on there, which is just great. All right, so let's go back here now. And let's go F12. So I will, you know, I'll do is I'll add a link somewhere. I'll add it to the video description as to where to get the DE10 Nano board. You have to get a couple of different components. So my suggestion would be to go over to that Smoke Monster video that's linked in the video description, and he will give you all the stuff you need to know and where you need to get it. And I'll add the DE10 Nano from Amazon here if it's still on there. What do they call this? DE10 Nano, dash in there. And we'll get that on there for you. Where did it go? Actually, no, the best thing to do would be go to that Smoke Monster video, and because there's a bunch of board. Here it is. Is this it? D10? No, it's D0. Who makes this thing? This is made by TurboGrafx. I think these things have been selling out because like the word's getting out on this stuff, and I bet you they're like, why is everybody buying this thing? This is like one of these boards that you use when you're in, you know, you're in college doing projects and stuff. Like this is the kind of thing that that you use this technology for. It's kind of an industrial thing, and all of a sudden, like all these gamers are getting this thing, and they're probably wondering what the heck is going on. Yeah, you know what? I can't find the board right now. I see the old one. Yeah, go to that Smoke Monster video. He'll give you a better starting point than I can right now. And I want to give him some traffic because he is doing so much for this community that he deserves every bit of traffic he gets. He's actually streaming live right now, so that is cool. All right, let's do some other stuff with this thing. What do you say, everybody? So I want to go and jump over to, let's reboot the thing here. And I want to go over and do some configuration of this thing. So, no network. Oh, so let's plug the network in. So I've got the network. Ground myself here before I touch it. Where did my network go? And we are going to plug this thing into the internet now. All right. So now we got a network. So let's see what it does. All right, got an IP address. I don't know what that does for us, but apparently we can set up, and let's go over to the instructions again, because I believe we can set up a file share so I can just connect to it. So let's look at Samba. You can access the MiSTer through the Samba network. By default, the Samba service is not active. You need to rename MediaFat Linux Samba SH to Linux Samba SH. Edit this file. Okay, so we're going to need to shut the MiSTer down real quick. And we're going to get Samba going, and then we can just kind of drag things right into it so we don't have to continually reboot it and pop the card out. Ooh, just touched the fan. I'm okay. Everything's fine. All right, so let's take the card out here and pop that back in the Mac. All right. So, yes, we can add a lot more stuff. So what we're going to try now, because I believe it was Alva J is asking about this. Yeah, he wanted to know if we can add more stuff. So certainly we're going to do that. So what I want to do is get, I want to get this so I don't have to keep popping the card out. I just want to be able to transfer stuff in via the network. So we're going to follow the directions here and enable Samba. So I need to rename MediaFat Linux Samba SH to Linux Samba SH. I wonder if I could have just popped into a terminal on that thing, but let's see. So Media Linux Samba. Oh, I see. So it's just that. Okay. So what it wants us to do, here is just do this to enable that, and that's a little shell script. I can pop into it real quick and oh shoot! Don't load it up in Word. No, it's going. Never mind. Text Wrangler. We're good. All right, so let's go and pop that in there and see. All right, okay, Samba user, we'll just call it Lon. We're not going to do anything totally secure here because it's just on my local network, so we're fine. You can hack my MiSTer all you want. All right, so let's quit Text Wrangler here and pop that out. All right, so you closed all open remote files and unmounted all remote VHDs before restarting MiSTer. Restart the core using the VHD to prevent data corruption. Oh, that's true. You can really screw things up with that. Make sure you've closed all open remote files and unmounted. Okay. You can also FTP into it. All right. right, so let me pop out the card here, and we'll reboot it. And then we should see it pop up on the network, which will be really easy to copy stuff over. Maybe we'll do that Moon Patrol thing next. How's that sound, folks? Now, I had the other MiSTer, the original MiST project. I have it over there, actually. And it never worked quite well for me because the biggest issue was that it didn't have an HDMI output, just VGA. And you could get it to kind of work with like a VGA to HDMI adapter, but it was not ideal. So this is like just immensely better already. All right, so hopefully it comes back up now. There it goes. So now, what we should see on my network, let's go and drop a menu out here. Okay, so I have the IP address, so let's go over to my Mac. It's not showing up on my network yet, but I think if I just connect to the server, and we'll say 1.110, it should pop up. Yeah, there we go. So we'll say Lon and Lon. Ah, did I not set that up as the password? Let's see. See if it lets us in as guest. No, okay, so that didn't work. I did something wrong. Let's go over and see if there's a... All right, let's kill power to it real quick. I'll go back in and edit that file and see if I did something incorrectly. So this is why I want to do this, because I'd rather just use the network to copy more things over than have to do this all the time. So I'm going to copy that back over, take some more questions here while we look at things. I'm glad you guys like the behind-the-scenes stuff, because I never know like if that's something people would enjoy or not. You know, it's kind of like watching paint dry. What's amazing to me is how fast time goes when I do one of these, because this is like we're into this for an hour already. So it's just crazy how that works. Okay, let's go edit the Samba SH again here. All right. Yeah, so I have Lon and Lon. So what did I do wrong here? Let's go look at the instructions. If you're using Windows OS to access the share, the credentials do not work, even though it should, and receive the specified. Chances are the Windows machine is not negotiating NTLMV. Don't follow the NTLMV. You know what? Let's just do the FTP thing. I think it might be easier. All right, FTP. Let's look at that. MiSTer board can access through the onboard. Okay, root 1. Oh, it's already built in. So we kind of just did not need to do this at all. So I'm going to pop this out again. And I'm going to check and see if I have an FTP client on this Mac. I believe I do. I have transmit. Yes, I do. Okay, so we're just going to do FTP. Because FTP is just so much easier to work with. And we're going to pop the card back in the bottom here. Oops. All right. Okay, so let's get the power back on. It's kind of like a real science experiment kind of thing, because it's got like some homebrew hardware, it's got a commercial board, we got RAM, we've got this USB hub, it's all this wacky stuff just kind of working all together. And then we'll just connect back to the thing here. So let's get that IP address again. It's 192, wait for it to get the network. There it goes. 1.110 root 1. And okay. So here we go. Now we got to go to the media folder here. So let's pop back over to, and then we're going to go to root file system maybe. That. Okay, there we go. So here's our directory. So now I can get more of these things and just drag them in. So I think we got Moon Patrol a little bit earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So let us go to my downloads folder. I never did get Moon Patrol. Okay, so let's go find Moon Patrol. Oops. There's lots of arcade cores on this too. And the big question would be whether or not I have a compatible ROM. So that'll be the next adventure here. So let's look at the options. Sorry, ROM is not included. We knew that. Okay, so there's a bit of a build to this. Okay, find the zip file somewhere. You'll need the file exactly as required. Not reading the zip files, even if they are. Okay. This might be harder to find them. Let's find something else here. We have to go hunting around for ROMs all night. It's not going to be fun. So let's go back to something else. Right. What about Burger Time? That's got to be easier, right, folks? Let's see. Burger Time. ROM is not included. Order. All right. We may have to come back to the arcade stuff. Maybe when I do the review, we'll look at that, because I think all of these require some additional hunting around. Yeah, so it looks like there's probably some packages somewhere that have these ROM files. So maybe we'll pivot to a computer now. So let's see, we got plenty of computers to choose from here. And perhaps we do the Amiga, because I have some Amiga software. Let's go to releases, and we'll get the latest one. That's interesting. Some of these are newer than others. So 2017-0702. I think the Amiga is like very mature on this platform, because here's the 2019 one, a month ago. Here we go. 120. It's funny, this is not in order. The Amiga was running really well on the original MiSTer, or the original MIST, so it should work pretty nicely here. So we're just going to copy that file over. And so now I'm using my little FTP client here to move the stuff in, which is a lot quicker. All right, so now we're going to go back to the instructions and see what we have to do to get this to work. So, usage, hardware, software. Okay, we got that. Oh, we got to do some configuration stuff here. All right, so FPGA, use the core. You need to kickstart ROM image file, which I have somewhere. Any ADF floppy disks, okay. All right, so let me go and find some software for this real quick and see where it needs to go into. All right, so what we need to do, area files, SNES Core, a firmware upgrade, which can be used to upgrade the firmware on the ARM microcontroller. Usually there's no need to upgrade the firmware. Okay. To use the core, you need a kickstart ROM image file, which I have. Kick ROM. All right, so let me go back and check my files here. Ooh, lots of people chatting here. It's hard to, I'm going to start doing live streams with my assistant so that I can make sure there's a steady stream of questions. Yes, Kenneth, I do have somebody who's working with me, so you'll probably see him a little bit soon. Because if my live stream, like this live stream has been going very well as far as the quality, because we've been up for an hour and we haven't had any drops here. So that's been good. Let's see. This is a good point. James makes a very good comment here about he's in network support and he loves watching someone figure out some crazy thing that they've never really seen before, because I wish non-tech people would understand what we do and go through. That's absolutely right. One of the things that I love about this computer stuff is that, especially when I got started, because I started with Apple IIs and the MS-DOS back in the early 90s, and things never worked right. And you had to figure it out. And there were some places you could go to get some help, but it's not like today where you have like a message board or something where you can just jump in and get a quick answer. I was on the FidoNet bulletin board system network, and it took a day or two for your question to get out to anybody and then back again. So it's really remarkable today just how much better it is. But it's still, you still have to learn how to solve problems, and your brain, it's funny how your brain works, because I would encounter a problem somewhere and then wouldn't have that problem ever again. And then a year or two later, it would pop up again, and I would just remember, oh yeah, when that happened, this worked. And I think it's actually helped me solve problems in other aspects of my life when you really have to think creatively. And I think technology really helps with that. Not even coding. I think there's just some real value to just understanding how to make things work. I'm going to copy Rocket Ranger over. Oh, it came from the desert. I have that. Oh, cool. Let's put that on there. All right, so let's drag that over. So we're going to FTP some stuff in. I think it's on there now. This is really convenient being able to use FTP because I can just drag stuff over. So this FTP client is just logged into the MiSTer, and I can just bring files over as I go. Now, I don't expect this Amiga thing to work on the first boot, but I have been surprised this evening by how well everything has been working. So let's see. And this is one of the, like I said, one of the more mature, oh, it is working already. Look at that. This is one of the more mature things on this platform because the Amiga component has been around for a long time. So we're going to go to It Came from the Desert. Oh, this is going to be awesome. This game, I remember seeing this on a, I put the disc in. Let's see if that does anything. This game was on I think it was one of these Nickelodeon shows on the weekend, and I had, I think it was like back in the 8-bit, before the 16-bit systems came out, and the Amiga was like the thing because it had all this graphical and audio capability that was like light years beyond what some of the other stuff had out there, and it's really remarkable how good this works. Let me save the configuration here. I think I have to. Okay, so I got that in there. All right, so I need to figure out how to reboot the Amiga image. If anybody knows how to do that, let me know. So if anyone's looking to get started with this, go to the video that Smoke Monster posted that I have in the video description, because that is probably the best way to get going with it. I'm just going to start hitting keys here until something reboots. I never owned an Amiga, so I don't know how to make it do anything. So I'm just trying to get it to load this floppy disk image. Let's put another one in there. Let's see, it came from the desert. Let's put 2 disks in. What the heck? Oh, that did something. Maybe it doesn't like my ADF files. That could be what it is. So let's go over to floppy disk turbo. I'm going to turn that off, see if that does anything. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if maybe, let's save this configuration again. And I'm going to reboot. I think when I reboot here, it's actually reboots, I reset the core. Let's do that. Okay. Let's see if that does anything. So I don't know what the best budget Chromebook is at the moment because there's so many, and they generally perform about the same. So I would, what I would suggest is going with like a name brand one. So there's, you can get them from Lenovo and Dell, and Acer has been in the Chromebook business the longest. So I'm going to try to get some more in. Let's try to put that disk back in. I think I've got some misconfiguration somewhere, which is probably interfering with this. And actually, it looks like it just doesn't like the disk image that I have. So let me copy over something else that I've got and see if that makes it work any better. Oh, Wings of Fury. I forgot I had that one too. That was a great game. Okay, so let's try Wings of Fury. Isn't this great? I can just copy it over and it's there. This thing is just awesome. There we go. The mouse works. That is cool. So Kenneth wants to know if I ever thought about moving to a larger studio. I haven't yet, partly because I've got a lot of room here that I'm not using. So that is why. All right, wants Wings Disc 2, Skid Row, Crack This. That was a great band. Wings Disc 2. And that should start going here. Dave's wondering if this is a 4K monitor. No, this is a 1080p monitor. It's a Lenovo. I don't think they make it anymore. Now let's see if we get any sound out of this. I am not hearing any sound yet. Usually it starts playing by now. Although this is this Wings of Fury? Or is this something else? It said CinemaWare when it booted up, didn't it? Oh, we got sound. Okay, let me put it. All right, so now it wants real one. Oh, this is, I thought this was Wings of Fury, but this is something else. It's a CinemaWare game, though, which they always made some really cool stuff. Wings 1. Did I just put that disc in? Let's see. There we go. Waldo Barnstormer. Okay, let's just choose him. All right, add a pilot, view pilot, join squadron. Okay, there we go. Select pilots. I want Waldo here. There we go. And hopefully, hey, John, thanks for stopping by from QuickCast. Hope you're doing some cool stuff with your TriCaster-equipped bus there. And Trey Horton wants to know if he has a product. Yeah, Trey, the best thing to do is email me at Lon@Lon.TV, and I'll let you know if it's something I'd be interested in looking at. And I don't remember what game this is. It's Wings something or other. And what we're doing, in case anyone is like tuning in late and curious, what we have here is a MiSTer. And this is like a combination of open source hardware with an off-the-shelf piece of hardware, along with a whole bunch of other things, software related, to allow you to simulate through an FPGA chip a number of different systems. And this evening we've already loaded up a Sega Genesis, a TurboGrafx 16 running with a SuperGrafx game, and right now we are running the Amiga. And one of the things that Smoke Monster told me is that the community has been really, really working on this project, and we've got just so many cool things coming out of this. And it's funny, this game, it's like they have half the game on the first disc and half the game on the second disc. Let's just put it on one on each drive here and see if that makes it happier. I think it's going now. All right. Dave was asking, are tower computers eventually going to be phased out, or is the Microsoft Store lying? I don't think the Microsoft Store is lying. I'm sure there's still a need for tower computers out there. They'll still sell those cases for sure. And John's right. Late night is such a part of the computer culture. Absolutely. In fact, when I was, I'm actually playing the game right now. I remember spending like really late nights with my 386, getting my BBS system working at night. It was such a hard thing to keep working, and I did all of my best learning was back then. So this game looked a lot cooler back in its day, but it's running great on here. This is really cool. All right. And if anyone's tuning in late and you want to see how this works, if I hit F12 here, I can go over to Core, and we can just go back and load up the TurboGrafx 16 again if we wanted to. It's pretty cool. Muttley Jr. is asking if Neo Geo is possible to implement on this board. It is possible. That is for sure. I don't know if they've done it yet. I think they're working on it. And Fat Agnes is wondering, do you have Blood Money, Xenon 2 Gods? I have nothing for the Amiga beyond what you just saw. But I would love to play with some more stuff, and it looks like I have to just hit my F12 here to pick the SuperGrafx game here, just to show you how this works. Scaling seems to be working great. We're scaling up to 1080p right now. I don't know what kind of impact this has on on performance, but it seems like it feels pretty good. This monitor is not my best for latency, so I'm going to plug it into my gaming monitor when I get my full review put together. It feels pretty good though here, and it's working great. So this is a SuperGrafx game, and it's running perfectly. The sound is good. The graphics look good. It's a little dark, but I think it just might be the display, because it looks a little bit better on the feed that you're watching here. But it's been working fine. In fact, it's actually scaling properly, so it's not. This monitor does not. It stretches everything, and it's not stretching this image, so it looks like it's scaling everything properly. It's really solid. The Genesis emulation is good too. We were noticing just a few little hiccups here and there, but that's been otherwise pretty good. Somebody was asking, let's see, okay, so can I do an Apple IIgs setup? I don't know if they've got a 2GS on here yet. Let's take a look. What I've been doing, somebody was asking about the project and where to find it, just search for MiSTer FPGA and that'll take you right into the main homepage here. But I'll tell you what, this has been a very easy thing to get set up. In fact, we spent more time thinking about it versus just getting it going. So it looks like they have a DOS emulator, a 486, that's cool. Commodore 1664, and I've purposely not been like following it too much. I've been looking at some of the things that Smoke Monster has been posting, but I've been purposely kind of sequestering myself just so I can just discover this and play around with it here. But here you can get a sense of all the different cores that are available that you can play with. They have Vectrex, you can do the Game Boy, Colecovision. A lot of this stuff I run on my existing system upstairs, the Analog NT Mini, which we've covered a lot here on the channel. I wasn't even showing you the graphics here. Sorry. The Analog NT Mini is an FPGA-based NES, and we've done a lot with that because they released like this unofficial firmware that allows you to run a lot of what you see here on that console. So that thing, we have, my friends when they're over, which is unfortunately too rare these days. I want to get my friends over more often. But we're able to run a lot of the games we played as kids. ColecoVision, Atari 2600 and stuff, really, really solid. But it does not look like there's a 2GS there yet, that's correct. So, let's see. And Mordecai says, welcome to the party. I know, I'm late to the party. He's been playing 16-bit PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 for the first time this past week. Oh yeah, I can definitely do the Apple II, Mike from Canada. They have the Commodore. I think the Commodore is a little further along on this than the Apple II. So maybe we can grab that real quick. Let's try that. Commodore 64. Go to releases. And this worked really well on the original MiST project, which is why like some of these cores here date back a good amount of time. This one looks 4 days ago, so this looks like the most recent one. So let's grab this one here. And we'll pull that down. I don't know much about the Commodore, believe it or not, because I didn't have one. All my friends had Commodores. I did not. I had an Apple IIe. So we're just going to drag this over here, and I'm going to check and see. I think I've got some Commodore 64 discs on my emulation thing. But I'm really impressed with this because like I said, I had the original MiST that I was really excited about when I got it, and it just never worked right. Like it worked fine, but it just, because of the display issues, it didn't have a scaler on it. It made it really difficult to work with. Let's see. I don't think I have any Commodore 64 stuff here, so let's go find I'm going to look for a Raid on Bugling Bay C64 image here. And you know what would be cool? Actually, if any of you watching, do me a favor. If you have any of those cool C64 demos with the music and the graphics and stuff, that's really cool. Can you email me a disk image, Lon@Lon.TV? Because that would be fun to play with one of those demos. I just don't know much about the Commodore 64 demo scene, so it'd be kind of fun to do that. So let me see if I can find an image here of the game. It's got to be like a disk image repository somewhere. Of course there is. All right, so let's find raid on Bungling Bay. I think it downloaded it. Let's see what I'm getting here. One thing nice about browsing the web on a Mac is that you're generally safer than Windows sometimes when you download unknown files. All right, so I've got the image downloaded. Let's go check the instructions real quick on this and we'll see how this works. And we'll go from there. And by the way, if you email me one of those demos, oh good, so Mordecai has, yeah, Smoke Monster has been like, I think what I'm gonna do when I do the video about this, I'm gonna have him come on and walk me through a few things because I think it would be really great to have him do that. I was on his live stream. He had a telethon, which I contributed to a couple of months, about a month or two ago, and I was on his telethon. It was great, and he's such a good guy. All right, so let me go grab. Okay, I think we're good. So I think I copied that over. I'm getting tired now, so my mental acuity is starting to erode here. It takes, you know, it's funny, doing videos, even like the recorded stuff that I do, it takes a lot of energy. Even though it's not like moving around and exercising, it's still like a lot of energy to do stuff. All right, so if you want to see what the Commodore 64 looks like, there you go. I'll do a little basic. Looks like I got the keyboard mapping right here. Let's see. Where's my quotation mark? The keyboard mapping's a little off here. I can't get my quotation marks up. Here, you get the idea. So let's see. Can we do... all right, let me go into F12 here and see what the keyboard mapping is looking like. All right, primary joystick, user port joysticks, kernel. We have cartridge support on this too. Video, we gotta switch to the video standard to NTSC here. All right, and then aspect ratio original, scan doubler fix none. SID left, so these are all the SID chips, audio filter. I know a little bit about this because I watched the 8-bit guy. All right, so let's load a disk, and then we'll go to RAID on Bungling Bay. What is it? Load star, right? But I can't figure out where my quotation. Oh, it is. Okay, star. So where's the? Somebody remind me like what the command is here. I know it's star, and like something -1. I think. Let's see. I'm just trying to get the star up on my screen here because the keyboard mapping is really odd. I think it might just be how the Commodore used to do things. There's the star. Okay. Oh shoot! I don't want to do that. All right, let's reboot. So 8.1, that's what it was. I knew that, but I didn't remember because I was not a Commodore guy. I like Commodore now. I think it's great. Oops. All right, let's just reboot the thing here. All right, so load, and I got to find the star again. Where the heck is it? So the keyboard mapping is all wacky on the Commodore. So I'm not like doing wrong things here. I just can't find the star key, what the star key is on the Commodore. So it's, where is it? I had it a second ago and I forgot where it was. Where did the star go? I had it. I was like so excited to have found the star and then I hit the wrong thing. Let's see. Okay, oh, I have to put it in parentheses too, huh? Okay, load, that's what I thought. Load star. I just can't find the star again on the keyboard here. I think this, what I really like about this is the ability just to load up some of these 8-bit computers and you really have an accurate depiction of what it's like to have one of those. I mean, certainly emulation is good, but this is something better, because it is a lot more accurate to the original. And I just want to figure out where that star key is supposed to be. And the beauty of the internet is that you can find anything you're looking for. So I just found this image of the Commodore 64 keyboard layout. And then I can look on here and see where that darn star is supposed to be. Okay, so it's next, it's somewhere by the P. So let's see if I can get the... Because the keyboard layout was definitely a little bit odd. And I can't seem to find the star now. So I'm just going to keep hitting all these keys until I figure out where the star is again. I feel like such an idiot. Why can't I find the star? I wonder if my keyboard just can't get that star out. I got it a minute ago, though, so what key was it? Sometimes audio filter, stereo mix. So I suppose I could just read the instructions, but that would not be fun, would it? So maybe somebody's got an idea. I think, yeah, I think you do have to use the layout. Try using not using Shift key. Try using, okay, let's see. Yeah, so what happens here is I can't seem to get the star back up. And I had it up a minute ago, so I forgot what I did to get it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to Google, because the star is supposed to be, so it's like P, there's a key next to the P where that's supposed to appear. But I am having a really hard time getting that key to appear where I am pushing the keyboard. So, and I'm seeing it on the screen there. So I'm going to search for MiSTer star C64 key and see if that gets us anything. It was right after, okay, it's right after exclamation point and pi, somebody said. So the exclamation point is where it should be, and then 2 is the quotation mark. And the layout is such that, oh, there you go, okay. So I was hitting the Shift key, I shouldn't have hit it. That's what it was. All right, so it's, there we go. Now we got it, everybody. Because I was hitting the Shift key, I shouldn't hit the Shift key. That's what it was. All right, so now we've got star -8 -1. All right, so now this should load up RAID on Bungling Bay when I hit the Enter key. Ready? Here we go. Boom. No! Oh, you know why? I didn't mount the disk, so let's go. After all that, right? Mount disk, RAID on Bungling Bay. There we go. All right, so now let's do that again. The beauty of 8-bit computers, you just go back up and issue it again. Loading. All right. We are in business, folks. You're too kind, Dave. I like Linus, though. He does more expensive stuff than I do. All right. It says loading. Now, do I have to hit run or something? Is that what I have to do? Okay, so I hit run. I think it must be doing something. This runs, of course, at the same exact speed, so it's emulating the floppy drive. And the neat thing that I learned from the 8-bit guy is that, oh, look, let's listen to the music here. Hang on. Not much for sound here, but cool, it's working. All right, so let's load the game up here and see how we get it all working. I'm very impressed with the joystick support on this as well, because all you do is hit the start button and it asks to map the joystick out for you, which has been awesome. All right. So I'm also curious, everybody, how the stream quality has been tonight, because I'm getting a few of these like orange, yellow zone things, but it hasn't gone red on me. So it goes like green, yellow, red. And we used to get a lot of reds, and the Comcast guy came out and said he fixed everything. So I'm hoping here that we finally have rectified the streaming issues. I think it's loading again. You know, one of the neat things about the Commodore disk drive that I was not aware of until I watched the 8-bit guy is that the Commodore disk drive had its own processor. Another 6502 chip was inside of that. All right, looks like we're waiting still for the game to load. This was, I mean, the Apple II had long load times. This is pretty decent here. And I think what I'll do is I'll get the Apple II one on deck. Now, they only have an Apple II Plus emulation. So let's get that one going. I just want to see what the instructions are here. I don't think this one has been heavily worked on. I might be wrong. Let's see, so let's go into releases while this is going up here. Gosh, that's a real, I can't believe this took that long to load back then. All right, here's a release from 2018, so we'll grab that one. And we'll let that thing continue to load here. Actually, now I'm thinking, now that I think back, I think my friend of mine had a Commodore 64, and there was a lot of waiting. So perhaps that is par for the course. By the way, though, if anybody has like a really cool demo scene thing, send it to me, Lon at Lon.TV. And Martin Paulini delivered. He sent me one. All right, let's take a look here. I think this is a Commodore demo. So this is what Martin just sent me. So I'll grab this one. Download. All right, so there we go. Let's throw that in here too. All right, looks like our game is up and running now. Now, I haven't played this in like ages. So a friend of mine had this game. And apparently, this was like the precursor, believe it or not, to SimCity, because the enemy base here will things happen based on your actions. So when you take out like some of the industry here, that has consequences for the enemy. It feels like it's running pretty good, pretty quickly too. And like I said, the Commodore stuff is really mature on this. So I think what button was the bombs? I want to bomb his runway here. Oop. Shooting guns that way. I might drop some bombs. This helicopter moves really quickly. I'll tell you what, of the two, I had the Apple II, remember. The Commodore really had a better graphics and sound platform than the Apple, and it cost a lot less too. So I'm dropping bombs, but I don't know how I'm doing it. I need 2 buttons at once here. Cool. Well, it definitely works. All right, so I'm going to go grab this demo now that Martin sent me. So let's go and just reset the computer. It's just awesome. All right, so we'll remember now how to do this, right? So we're going to mount a disk. We're going to go to Fairlight 1/4 side A. And we'll say, I'm a pro now. Look at this, I'm a pro. I'm a 8-1, right? Yeah. Loading. And we'll let that load up here. Woohoo, lots of chats. All right. Let that load up. So the board, I think, is like $180, John, and then there's like different components that you get to it. So I think I'm into this probably for about $200 or so. And like I said, Smoke Monster's got the best info on this. There's a great community that's coming up around this project, and we'll do a video on this that's more concise than this. And Britt Dodd says, so instead of emulating the hardware and software, the FPGA is re-implementing the hardware directly. That is exactly it. So they're writing software to replicate how this works. So let me pull up this demo so you can watch for a minute. I'm going to turn my mic off so I can listen to the audio too on my TV here. I just love the Commodore's sound. It just had such a unique sound to it. So we're watching one of these demo scene videos from, or actually software, running on the simulated hardware. And I'm just working, as this is running, I'm working on a few other computer systems to show you how to switch between them. So bear with me for a minute. I'll have some more stuff to show you in a sec. All right, we're gonna switch systems here real quick. We're gonna try a Mac now. So let's hit F12. And I think I copied everything over to where it needs to be. So we're going to go over to Core. This is the MiSTer interface here. So you hit F12 and this pulls up. And if I hit Mac Plus now, I got a Mac, just like that. And I'm going to hit F12, and we're going to mount a disk. I think I forgot to copy the disk over, so let me do that real quick. I'll throw it in the Mac Plus folder here. And they have a few disk images available on here, so we're going to grab that real quick. And let's see, releases. So let's grab this just system disk here. We'll just boot up a system disk just to see if it works. All right, so we'll just drop that in there. And we'll go back to the Mac Plus folder, and here we go. And it should say, welcome to Macintosh. It's definitely running nice and slow like an old Mac would. This is the Mac Plus emulator. So actually this is very similar to, actually it is, the actual machine that we were running just recently. And I think I have some floppies still from that project. Let me check on my, my archive here. We can like load up a little teach text here. So it's amazing, like when you're dealing with this system here, you can just jump between computers or old consoles and that kind of stuff. It's pretty wild. Let's see, do I have Mac Classic? Here we go. Let's see what I have. I don't have any of those things. I do have a hard drive image, but I don't think that's going to work. But we can try it. Let's see. Go back and look at, yeah, so if you want to watch me type, hi everyone. You know, got yourself a Mac, pretty cool, right? Hit a button and you got something else. We can go and change cores. I can actually adjust the speed here too, so you can speed it up if you wanted to. So I can make it turbo or normal and give it more RAM, up to 4 megs. You can make this thing a hoppin' Mac. Oh, mount VHD, let's do that. Let's see if this one works. Let me see. I think I locked it up, so let me just do a quick reboot here. I don't know if it's booting my disk image or not. Let's see what happens. Because this is actually the same image we were running on the original hardware on that video I did a few months ago, back right before the holidays. And I was also running this on Mini VMac, which is an emulator on the PC, although I think it might be booting off that virtual floppy still. We'll have to see. Yeah, it's still the System Tools disk. All right, let's see if we can get that. Let's mount VHD. Generally, these things won't hot swap like that, so let's do a restart and see if it'll pop up when we do this again. So in case anyone's tuning in, we are playing with the MiSTer, which is, again, a combination device that has both an FPGA on board, as well as a little Linux kernel that runs underneath it to get files moved back and forth and run its necessary things. And what's cool about it is that we can go from running a Mac like we are right here to jumping over to something else. Like we can go and, hey, you want an Apple II? And this is probably not going to work. Oh, there it goes. Apple II. You got yourself an Apple II. And the Apple II one is a bit limited because it's an Apple II Plus, so you're not going to be able to get too much to work with that. But there is a huge list of cores that this supports, and I can show you a few more. There's also, somebody was asking about the Super Nintendo, so maybe we'll try that out real quick. Because there is, let me jump back over to there is an SNES Core. So you can see all the different things that it can run. So we've got all these old 8-bit computers. I really hope we see an Apple IIgs simulator for this, because that would be really, really cool. The X68000 runs on this. I forgot about that. That was where a lot of great games kind of grew out of for the NES, like Metal Gear and a bunch of others. Konami did a lot with the X68000 platform. We have console cores, the Atari 2600, the 5200, ColecoVision. ColecoVision was my favorite back in the, let's grab that one, because I want to show you guys some ColecoVision. You just download these little cores, and you boot them up, and they're good to go. So it looks like the ColecoVision Core has had some things done with it recently, so that's cool. We'll grab that real quick. And what I'm able to do as well with this is FTP it into the board, so I don't have to take the card out. I just drag this in here, and let me go find a ColecoVision game that I can throw in there too. So my favorite Coleco game was a couple, of course. Actually, you know what? I have a lot of favorite Coleco games now that I think about it. So I'll show you a couple of them. And let me grab... So I had a ColecoVision in... What was cool about the ColecoVision, first of all, is that the games were great. They were... they had a lot of arcade ports, and they are good. Like, they are really good ports of some of these arcade games. I think I probably need the Coleco ROM just in case, so we'll drag that over too. Coleco actually was in my home state of Connecticut. That's where they were located, and they were on fire. They had the ColecoVision and the Cabbage Patch Kids at the same time, and they couldn't hold it together. Just didn't work for them, and they went out of business. But it was a great console. And we'll copy that over, and we'll Zaxxon maybe. Yeah. I'll show you a couple things. I don't want to spend too much time in each one here. So let's go to the core, and then we'll go over to, ColecoVision. And we'll just load up a... All right, so let's pull up Zaxxon. And it's nothing like the arcade, but it's close. Right, left, down, up, fire, star. Oh yeah, it's a star thing. Oh, okay, so I don't have enough buttons on this remote. I wonder if it'll map to the keyboard. No, it won't. Okay, so star, pound. Oh. All right, so we're just going to... Yeah, so the ColecoVision had, I don't have the controller. Well, the controller actually is right behind me, actually. So I'm not going to take it off the shelf, but if you look down right there, that little foam-looking thing, that's the Coleco controller. So it had all these buttons on it to select different skill levels and stuff. So we'll just do skill 1 here. This is Zaxxon. And I'll pull this up for you. So it kind of looked like the arcade. I used to play this for hours. Oh my gosh. I love this game. Seems to be running really nice on here. Very responsive. And it was very different than the arcade, actually, because they had... this level here was similar. But they had another... The second fortress that you invade had different enemies. Maybe we'll play through that real quick, and you can see what that looks like there. And so, and actually, yeah, and Britt makes a good point. So I have like a couple of extra components added on. The DRAM module is pretty important for some of these cores, but it's not necessary for all of them. So if you go on SmokeMounster's channel, he's got a video talking about which ones you need it for and which ones you don't need it for. So that might be helpful to check out. But I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed with this, because this was not a very difficult, crazy project to get going with. It was really simple. Once we got the image on the card, and there was software to do that, it just booted right up. And to my surprise, I think we started with the TurboGrafx 16 and the Sega Genesis, and everything just worked like from the moment we started it. There was no unexpected anything. I just had to know to hit the F12 key. That was my only thing I didn't get, and thankfully a viewer was able to remind me to hit the F12 key. So there is Zaxxon. Let me show you another one here. Now this game, I played this one a lot. This next one, this is Bump and Jump. And Mordecai here is saying that the Neo Geo core is being worked on, so that will be fun. That's got to be a very challenging core to work on. So apparently the 68,000 chip, which is powering the Genesis, the Atari ST, the Amiga, it's apparently like really good now. So like that core is very accurate. So a lot of that opens the door for a lot of systems that were powered by that, including arcade systems and stuff. So that is that. I know some of you wanted to check out, let's pull up another one real quick, and I'll show you Burger Time. But they had like the arcade ports on the Coleco were just so good. And all my friends had a Coleco, so we all traded games all the time. And I'm going to try some of these arcade cores later. I have to go do some more research as to where to find all that stuff. And let's grab the SNES Core real quick. While that's going. So here's Burger Time. I mean, these were close. I mean, they weren't arcade perfect, but it was like, you know, from the Atari 2600, which was what everyone started with, to this was a huge jump. And this system was just, there was just so many good games out for it. So many games that you would go and play in the arcade, you'd have a nice replication at home. And there was a lot of arcade ports. This is probably what it was best known for. And it came with Donkey Kong. So this was like the last system, I think, that Nintendo licensed games for. Actually, Coleco was making games for the Atari 2600 also. And apparently, when Donkey Kong came out on the Coleco, that was when Nintendo got sued by King Kong, or the makers of King Kong, is it MGM or whatever, over the IP. So it kind of started with the Coleco. And then, of course, Nintendo came out with the Famicom, and later the Nintendo Entertainment System here in the US. All right, I'm just going to copy over. So hopefully you all get the idea as to how this thing works. It's pretty cool just to like hit a button and load up some other simulated system. And the accuracy is better than emulation is. And that was one of the things when I first got my analog NT Mini, it just felt right. It was really remarkable by like how good it was. So let me grab Mario Kart here real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that because, well, you know, they're friendlier now, right? It's Nintendo, so let's try it. Let's see. Pretty sure I have Mario Kart on here. Give me a second here. There it is. Okay, so let's copy that over to the FTP. Okay, so now we're going to go from the 80s to the 90s in a key press here. We're going to go back to here. We're going to pick out the Super Nintendo Core. Where did it go? Did I copy it over? Oh, I didn't copy it over yet. I wonder why. So let's download that. And we'll copy that over. And now we're going to go from the 80s to the 90s. That's SNES, right? Boom. Now we have a SNES. And this is why I'm hopeful there will be an Apple IIgs emulator, because the Super Nintendo had the same chip as the Apple IIgs, the 65C816. All right, so let's see how SNES does. Now, of course, the ultimate SNES FPGA device already exists, which is the analog NT Mini. A, B, X, Y, right trigger, select, start. And I have my 8-bit DOE controller here, which is very appropriate for this, this core. Okay, so let's back out of this. And hopefully Nintendo isn't throwing out strikes anymore, so we'll see how quickly that happens, right? But it looks like it's the mode 7 works, right? So that's not bad. All right, let's do a quick little race here. I don't have the sound on here, so you all have to tell me how it sounds to you, but it looks like it's working pretty decently. And of course, that NT Mini, though, is just awesome. The Super NT, I should say. But yeah, it works. Not bad. Yeah, and then when you're done with this, you just hit F12 and load up your Sega Genesis, same device. But what's been incredible here is that this has just been working like really well. So in case you're wondering what I have hooked up here, let's get out of this before I get copyrighted by Nintendo here. We'll look at Commodore 64 real quick. So what we've got here is the MiSTer itself, and this consists of the, this is what you need to start with. And as Smoke Monster said, you can do a lot just with this thing. So you put this in, you get this, and you load up the software on the card, and you can boot it up and pretty much get a lot of what you just saw, not everything. In addition to that, if you rewind the stream, you can see me put it all together. I have the SD-RAM upgrade that's right here. It's hard to see, but it's right there. And then on top of that, I have the I/O board, which I'm not sure what to do with yet. I just bought what he said he thought I needed. So that is the MiSTer itself. And then here I have a, this is just a USB hub. And what I have plugged into the USB hub is my keyboard and mouse here. And then I've got an 8BitDo gamepad connected as well. And this gamepad's been working fine. In fact, when you plug in the gamepad and hit start, it asks you to map out the buttons. So it's just really slick. And then you've got these hardware simulations of these awesome things. And that does arcade, which we haven't gotten to yet. We have the Sega Genesis again. We'll just show you that real quick. Let that core load up. And we'll load up Afterburner 2 there on the Sega Genesis. Genesis does on the MiSTer. Still I'm seeing a few graphical glitches on here. It's not like, show-stopping, but you'll see a little glitch on screen here as it's playing. But this is great. You see that? It's kind of at the top of the screen. You can see a little bit of flickering. So that's the only thing I've noticed with this one. But this is such a, the community is really like on top of this. Smoke Monster did a big telethon that I was on a few weeks ago to get more support for the project. So you have to follow Smoke Monster's channel. And if there are other channels that I should be following on this topic, do let me know in the comments or in the chat. Yeah, it's working good. I don't think it's screen tearing. It's looking glitchy. I don't know. Maybe it is, but it just looks like I'm seeing it up at the top of the screen. It doesn't quite look like tearing, but maybe it is. Could be. But it's pretty solid. So that's the Genesis, and then you can hit that button, and I'm surprised actually how quickly the cores load up. It's very fast to switch cores. So like Genesis here, it's got the 68,000, the Z80. Running there with all the other specialty chips, and then I can just switch to a 6502 TurboGrafx 16. And in this particular implementation, as we were discovering earlier, it runs the SuperGrafx stuff too, which was it was a system that did not live very long and only has like 6 games, but they work, and it's been it's slick. It's slick. And I was telling some folks earlier on in the stream, I had a cable access show way back when I was a kid, like 1989, 1990. And I was doing a lot of stuff on video games for my local cable channel. It was so cool. And there was a store in the town next over from me that was advertising with like these big ad spreads in Game Players magazine. So they were actually like a mail order games shop, and they had everything, including imports, and they would let me come over and just shoot all their imported games, because they get all this stuff in from Japan. And they had a SuperGrafx there, and this was the game that I played. In fact, I have a tape of captured footage of this game from like 1989, 1990 when I was over at their store. So it was this was like the first thing I wanted to run, because I had played the game once and was just like, oh my god, this is so awesome, it looks great, the multiple parallax scrolling going on and everything. They were kind of billing it as like a 32-bit system at the time, like this was going to be better than the Genesis, and as you know, the Genesis could do a lot of this as it got more mature. But it was just cool to see this running, in this FPGA simulation here. So this is cool. So yeah, so that's the MiSTer. So I'm going to do some more with this, no doubt. And I've been going now for like 2 hours, so I think I'm going to take some questions for about 10 minutes or so, and then we're gonna call it quits. But the good thing is, it looks like the stream has been up the whole time. I am seeing my stream being yellow again, which concerns me, but I think it hasn't gone red, so that is good. And what happened was, I had tweeted on to Comcast about why I can't get faster speeds, and they said, well, we want to check your connection. I said, well, it's not the connection, it's the speed. I want faster speeds. And they said, well, let's check you anyhow. And they checked me. This is all via Twitter, by the way. And they checked me out, and sure enough, they said I had a problem. So they sent the guy out, and the guy came here the next day. It was actually very good service. And he took out the thing that the last guy put in, and I think it's made it better. So we'll have to see what's going on here. So Kenneth Markert wants to know, how is the business? Things are good. It's actually been a good year. I had, when I went full time, I'm in my second year now. My second anniversary will be in like 2 or 3 weeks of going full time. And the first year full time, I was up business-wise, revenue-wise, I think like 20 or 30%. So having more time really made a difference. What's funny is when I go back and look at some of the videos that I did before I went full-time, like 3 years ago, I was talking very fast. And I think partly because I was always rushing because I had the job to go to afterward or before. So I think having more time just to get things the way I like has really helped, and business is good. This year for YouTube revenue, it was actually the best year I ever had, because it was funny because 2014 or 2015? 2014 was my best year YouTube revenue-wise up until last year. So believe it or not, I was not doing as well on YouTube in the last 3 years as I was in 2014. In fact, 2014 was how I bought the TriCaster, because I had such a good year. And this year was good. So I really prefer, that's what was so encouraging about this past year, is that, for all the complaining about YouTube revenue and everything, I actually have been doing better over the last 2 years, and certainly last year was great, and I would love for it to get continually better. And some ways that you can help with that is if you have a YouTube premium subscription. I think that's probably, short of giving via Patreon or Super Chat, the YouTube premium subscription pays the creators more than the ad revenue does, because they are paid for every minute that you watch. So no matter which creator you watch, if you're a premium subscriber, every minute you watch is counted up, and then at the end of the month they pay out. And I think it's like five times the amount of revenue versus somebody who's watching for free with ads. So it's significant. And one of the things that I've been begging YouTube to do would be to set up an affiliate program where we could be encouraged to get more people on premium. Because all this ad nonsense is irrelevant if you're a premium subscriber. Your creator is getting revenue for every minute that you watch. It's really good. It's not as much as a Super Chat or a Patreon is, of course, but it's more than a free watch is. And I've been a premium subscriber for ever since it came out, because I felt like it's the best way I can help support my creators. And not having the ads is really nice. So I'm able to, watch ad-free without taking revenue out of people's pockets, which has been great. So so that's been, I think, a great thing you can do. And then, of course, Patreon and all the other things that we have to help support the channel are really helpful too. So business-wise, it was good. And I'm thinking we got sponsors. We're doing a few more things from Mocha. And we've got the Plex thing that's ongoing, and HD Home Run will probably do some more stuff with us. So it's been a good year. And what's nice is that because the YouTube revenue is decent, I can be picky about the sponsorships that I choose. So I'm really not going to try to load up with too much stuff, so long as the YouTube revenue is good. But yeah, YouTube Premium is really good for creators, and the more that you watch as a premium subscriber, the better. Now, what's interesting about it is that it's not like, so YouTube takes like 35% or whatever of your premium subscription, and the rest of it goes to the creators. But it's not like if you only watch me, I don't get the $5. I get the minutes that you watched. So to some degree, you are, even if you watched YouTube for 5 minutes, the balance is going to go to somebody else. So basically what it is they take all the money that comes in, they take all the minutes that are watched, and they distribute it out based on that calculation. So it's not a one-to-one. And Kenneth Marker, thank you very much for your contribution. Get myself a coffee. I'll be up all night if I have a coffee, but maybe I'll have some decaf. So thank you for the contribution. The one problem about where I live, this is horrible. It takes me about 15 minutes round trip to go get a cup of coffee because the coffee shops are so far away from me. So I have to make my own coffee most of the time. Let's see, I'll take a couple more questions here. Rich Wilson says he's only had 3 drop frames the whole time. That's great. That's excellent. Rich says, having kids has also calmed me down. It has calmed me down, and it has worn me out, as he says. Or wore you out. They definitely, I'll tell you what. What's funny is, and they're not home tonight, which is why I have energy left, but usually during the week, by 8 o'clock, I'm done. I am just exhausted, because it's tough to get them to the bedtime ritual there. So, Bira, thank you for your premium subscription. That is very helpful to the channel. Big Trucker wants to know, do I have a Ceton Infinity 6? I do not. And I don't think they make the Infinity 6 anymore. So that if you can find one, it'll probably hold us all over until the 6 tuner comes out. And you know what's interesting about that business of cord cutting is that the growth is in the over-the-air stuff. And this is not them saying this is my interpretation of the situation. So I think from the standpoint of prioritization, I think they wanted to get some of their over-the-air stuff settled in first before they got to the 6 tuner. I know a lot of people are waiting for it, as am I, because I finally had an evening where we had 4 things that we wanted to record or watch, and we couldn't do it because we only had 3 tuners. So I hope that would happen. Uncivilized Engineer, thank you for stopping by. Thanks for watching me get this thing working. This was a good stream because it didn't blow up on me, at least not yet. And we're still got the little Commodore thing going here. Let's do a little basic. Now that I know where the run. Hello, look at that. We do 20, go to 10. Run. Ah, look at that. I still got it. How do you stop this crazy thing? Oh, geez. All right, caught a loop here. So on the Apple, it was Control-C, or Control-G on the Apple, maybe. Yeah, that's right. I'll just hit Escape on the Commodore. So let's see what else we got here. Do I get revenue from this stream? Yes. So premium viewers who watch anything, that revenue gets assigned. Yeah, and it'll be neat to see how many of 115 or so of you who are watching watch that. John Machi wants to know if I was affected by the Omniverse thing. Not personally, because I'm using their Prime device because I have cable here, so it hasn't hit me personally. The service is still up in the middle of that lawsuit, and we're going to cover it on the wrap-up on Monday. They had a statement that says they're working, with the parties involved, and I'll have some more on that on Monday, hopefully. And then if anything develops in the days or weeks to come, we'll certainly do a special video on that. So right now, it's still working to the best of my understanding, with the exception of some of those discovery networks. And I think they're trying to work all that out. My gut on this is that Omniverse is going to have to pay more to these folks, and I think this lawsuit is a means of getting down to settling things. Because you would think if they didn't want to settle, they would have just issued a cease and desist and shut everything down. But we'll have to see what happens there. And what's interesting, Big Trucker, about the development there is that it's a pretty small group that puts that stuff together. My guess on the Prime 6 also is that the cable, there's very few people that use these things. In fact, what's funny is that I've encountered now at this place and then at my old job, probably about 4 or 5 Comcast techs. Not one of them knew what the Prime was. Not one. They're like, "Well, what is that?" And the tech who was here the other day, he said, "I haven't done a cable card installation in years." So I think a lot of people don't even know that it's an option. And I get a lot of views on my video. I'm really curious how many people actually go out and buy one afterward. I have Amazon affiliate links on it. But right now, of course, there are no Primes to be had because they're out. But hopefully they'll get that 6 going soon. And I'll tell you what, as soon as that comes out, trust me, it'll be in this place and we'll put it through its paces. Yeah, and Eric, so that's the other thing that happened this week is that Amazon dropped their app over this issue. And, these platforms are tricky, So we'll have to see what happens this coming week as to how everything plays out. Do you have any recommendations for a dedicated Linux box? This is from James. I've been using VMs for a long time. You know what would be fun? What's been great is that all these Gemini Lake mini PCs we've looked at all run Linux very well. That Pepper Jobs mini PC we looked at, that one I think is probably the best mini PC I've seen in the last year and a half or so. Next to the Intel NUC, I think is still the one to get to some degree. But the Pepper Jobs one costs a little bit less because it comes with the RAM and the storage already. And that one worked great. They turned off the throttling on it, so it runs at the full bursted speed all the time. It's got really good cooling on board, and that one works really well. So Commodore, I am very impressed with the MiSTer. We've been doing a lot with it tonight. It just works wonderfully. You can just switch from the Commodore 64 here to the Super Nintendo, and boom, you got yourself a SNES here ready to go, and just like that, it's done. It's magic. Look at that. Super Mario Kart's going. I can jump from 90s to back to the 80s with the Colecovision. Boom, Colecovision. Quick. It's amazing. So I am digging this thing. I'm really excited to start doing more with this. So my next project is to figure out the arcade stuff. So I'm going to go to Smoke Monster's channel and educate myself a little bit. Right, let's see. Yeah, that's true, Big Trucker, that the cable boxes have the cable cards in them. I know, it's crazy. Gemini Lake is amazing, Mike from Canada says. Yeah, the J5005 is really good. The J5005 NUC that I looked at was really impressive. There is a chip shortage, though, as Mike is pointing out, and that's limiting the availability of a lot of these chips, and it's also making things more expensive right now, too. TFDS guy says old school cable will be dead soon. I agree with that. I think it's going to all switch to streaming. And if you're Comcast, here's the thing with Comcast that people don't realize is that you will never hear me have sympathy for them. But I will say this much, that they have been, and this is the truth, they have been getting screwed, and we are by extension as consumers, they've been getting screwed by the content providers. So I'll give you an example. So ESPN, for example, is on all the basic cable that's out there. And the reason that it is because ESPN says to Comcast, we want X number of dollars per subscriber. So Comcast actually has to pay the content creators or the content owners for their channels, for number one. And number two, ESPN will say to Comcast, not only do you need to pay us for every subscriber that you have, if you don't put us on the lowest tier package that you offer, we're not going to allow you to run our network. And then people can run to satellite or some other choice. And that's why you see these battles sometimes with these local, with the local TV stations. They're fighting over how much money they're supposed to get. It's because Comcast has to pay to carry every channel that's on the network. But the internet's the opposite. And this is where the net neutrality stuff comes in. So Netflix has to pay Comcast because Netflix wants better service for their customers, which means that they have to co-locate in Comcast head ends with Netflix equipment. So Comcast charges them rent, essentially, for the location and the network access. And I think part of the reason why the ISPs wanted to get rid of net neutrality was so that they could offer some of these premium network access options to some of these large consumers of bandwidth. And to be fair, Netflix uses a ton of bandwidth that Comcast has to have the infrastructure for. But when you think about it, I pay as much for internet as I do my cable TV, I would imagine, or close to it. But Comcast doesn't have any overhead associated with that subscription like they do on the cable side. So this has been a big money winner for them. And I think we'll see a lot more channels just streaming through through that. I think get Burger Time just loaded up here on the ColecoVision. Let you listen to some of that in the background there. Okay, a couple more, then I'm going to go. Let's see. We got... So Commodore is wondering if you could maybe do RGB out to the 2GS monitor. It's possible. So on the MiSTer board, it's hard to see because I have the camera zoomed out, but there is a VGA connector here which you could probably do something with. I don't know about the other GPIO pins, although because it's got an FPGA in there, I think you probably could make something work because you just have to program it to do that. So that's definitely doable, but it's beyond my pay grade on that one. Commodore thinks that cable will be obsolete with ATSC 3.0. That's possible too. And Big Trucker says TV channels should not be paid by cable companies. They are broadcast. Well, that's true. So what happened was there was a time when cable had a must-carry rule, which meant that they had to carry the networks. And then something regulatorily changed, and it gave the TV stations the option of must-carry or they could charge the cable company for carriage. So right now, in most markets, the cable company has to pay the local channel for coverage. And we had something just here in Connecticut, not in my area, but in another part of the state, where the New Haven TV station, channel 8 ABC, is off the cable network, off the cable system because they didn't want to pay. So it's crazy. And it's funny, I don't even watch that much TV. So the shows that I watch right now, The Expanse just moved to Amazon. That's one of my favorite shows. I am really enjoying this Star Trek Discovery and the Orville, both of those shows. And Orville, of course, is still on network, but Discovery is on streaming. And I think, too, that the streaming networks have bigger budgets for better production quality. So Star Trek's been just awesome. I've really been liking that show. It's good. The Expanse is amazing too, as James just said there as well. There's some really good. I think this is probably the best time for sci-fi TV in the last 10 years. So we had, when Battlestar Galactica was on, I think it was like Friday night on the Sci-Fi Channel. They called it Sci-Friday, and it was 3 hours of like great sci-fi. You had Stargate, you had Stargate Atlantis, and then you had Battlestar Galactica. I would just loved it. My wife even got into Stargate. It was good to be able to watch a show with her. We don't like a lot of the same shows, so it was fun for her to watch that with me. And Rich mentions here that Comcast is part of NBC. Actually, Comcast owns NBC. So they don't have to pay for every network because they own some of them. So they own E, they own a bunch of others as well that they don't have to pay for, and NBC. So they have that to do that. Oh, okay. So Gregory here points out that I was using the internal scaler, which I was, for MiSTer. There's a nearest neighbor scaling that it's using. It's not ideal. Get the zip file for MiSTer filters for better upscaling. So maybe I'll try that when I continue playing with this, because if I start now, I'm going to be up all night. John says, Nintendo's new boss, Doug Bowser, is ironic. Nintendo gives the keys to the king to the Bowser after. Yeah, can you imagine? I bet you when he went in for his interview, he's probably like, I got this job. This is going to happen, because his name is Bowser. How does that happen? Somebody should make a character called Lon, and I could get a job at Nintendo too. And Kenneth, you are absolutely right. Stargate Universe was awesome, and I am disappointed that it got canceled when it did, because it was really getting good when they pulled the plug on it. And I think if it was the streaming television era, it probably still would be around, but it's not. Dave, yes, I know Bethel. I don't know anybody from Bethel, but I know where Bethel is. Not far. Connecticut is a small state. And Rich says, American sci-fi has come a long way since the Lost Saucer. What's funny is that a lot of the sci-fi shows that I like are made in Canada. So The Expanse isn't, but I think the Stargate shows were made in Canada. Travelers on Netflix, that's a Canadian sci-fi show. There's a bunch of them that are made in Canada. And Cantankerous Dave misses the days of ClearCam, as do I. So it used to be that you could plug your cable wire into your television and it would work. You'd get all the digital channels, you'd be good to go. That's how I did it for a long time. And actually, it's so funny that this happened because I woke up one morning and all my TVs didn't work anymore and I was ripped. And I called up Comcast and they lied to me. They said the FCC is requiring us to encrypt the channels. I said, that can't be true. And I looked it up and it wasn't that they were requiring them to do that. They allowed them to if they wanted to. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole to the HD home run, and that kind of started the channel because that's when people discovered me, was from that video, and it was pretty cool. Commodore asks, yeah, Stargate was filmed in Vancouver, that's right. Dave wants to know, ever been to the Danbury Fair Mall? I think I went to that mall once or twice. Do you think you can get 2 gigabit if I had a shack right next to the PO and it really... Yes, I think if I lived closer to the head end, I would have it. And here's the funny thing. The head end in my area is in the middle of a farm in this town called Killingworth. It's like, it's in the middle of nowhere, literally. I'm going to see, you know what would be kind of fun? I'm going to see if I can get us a tour of that head end. So when I was doing my little cable show, they had to swap tapes out. So I was with the cable access coordinator, and he actually drove me over to this thing. And it was this crazy, like, concrete shack. And inside of it, all the TV commercials that were running on all the different channels were, at that time, this was 1989, 1990, they were all running from tapes. They had all these video decks, in this head end. And you would hear them just clicking on and off as each commercial would run. It was pretty cool. I'd love to go back and see how it works now digitally. That might be kind of fun to do. But yeah, if I lived near that, I would have 2 gigabit because they could run that fiber from the head end. James is saying cable providers are now throttling IPsec traffic. That's disappointing too, especially for VPNs and whatnot. That ain't good. I did actually connect, so I have a VPN that I set up here at the house with my Synology router because when I was on vacation, I was able to transmit one of my larger video projects to the studio computer here with my VPN, 23 gigabyte file, but it went through. So, good stuff. John, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. And this was a fun project. It's always fun when it works because I don't look like a fool trying to figure out how to get everything hooked up and working again. So we've had our share of disasters here on the channel. This one was not one. And now I've got a new toy to play with. So I'd love to find a case for this thing because I think it might be a little, there's too many, look at this. There's all this stuff here on the bottom. I touch any of that, it's going to go zap on me. Although that plexiglass that I took off, I could probably just put on the bottom. So that might be something I can do. I still have some screws left over. So I can maybe just attach this on the bottom, give it a little bit more protection. That might be something I'll do. Just like that. That's what I'm going to do. All right. That'll give me something to do tomorrow. All right. Yes, Tanker's Dave, there is a, I would look at RetroArch on your Shield. You could definitely get it working on that. And those games are just awesome. And they're a lot of fun to play on an HD TV. There's also work on my NT Mini upstairs too, so good stuff. All right, my friends, I really appreciate everybody tuning in, and this was a fun little journey here this evening. And I will be back at some point in the near future with a live stream. I'm glad this one worked really well. One of the things that I'm contemplating is that if my stream quality is as good as it was tonight, I might start doing a more regular live stream, because I've been reluctant to, given the fact that nothing was working. But if they indeed fixed my problem, I might be encouraged to do this. So I will keep you in the loop on that. Maybe we'll do something with Smoke Monster. I'm sure he would love to come on, and we can kind of talk about the MiSTer in more detail. So that might be kind of cool to do. So I think I'm going to hit the button here in a second and get some rest. I pick up my family at the airport tomorrow, so let's go get that going here. I'll take one more question here. Yeah, the weekly wrap-up live would be cool, except you wouldn't believe how many takes I do on that. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Thanks, Rich. And Dave, one last question has, do I believe the Chromebook replaced the netbook? I think to some degree it has. My polo, oh, APPP wants to know my polo shirts. The polo shirts will come back when the spring happens. So look for those probably around April when I start wearing my polos again. So yeah, I have a uniform. I have a winter uniform, which is the pullover sweater, and the polos in the spring and summer and the fall. I do need a polo sponsor. I should make my own polos. Maybe I should go get that done. I'll have to find somebody that can do that for me. All right, everybody. This has been a lot of fun, and I really thank you all for joining me as I was tinkering around with some stuff. I was kind of bored tonight. I was like, I want to do something. So I said, oh, I got the MiSTer. I should get that going. And we did, and it works. And I'm really impressed with it. So we'll play some more with it, and stay tuned. If there's stuff that you want me to do with it, let me know on a comment on this video. So don't do the chat, do a comment on the video. And I will take a look. And I see a bunch of you email me some things too, so I will take a look in there as well. And I will see you all on the weekly wrap-up, which will be up on Monday night. And have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.